We are in one of the most exciting times of the season as the trade deadline is just around the corner. We will find out which teams will make that final push even though they probably shouldn't, and the teams who should sell but probably won't. Well, the deal we are going to talk about today actually didn't happen in the middle of a season, but it is one of the most significant trades in MLB history. The deal between the Rangers and Yankees that sent Alfonso Soriano and Joaquin Arias to Texas and sent 28-year-old Alex Rodriguez to New York. Alright, let's get into the timeline. This story begins just before the 1991 season. The Baltimore Orioles were 1 year away from moving to their new stadium, Camden Yards. However, the team wanted to pay homage to their home of Memorial Stadium before they began a new era of Baltimore baseball. They dubbed the year as a season to remember, despite the fact they finished under 500 in the prior season. Also, fans around the country didn't consider the Orioles as a team to make the playoffs. Well, it turns out the fans were right. Just looking at the record alone, it certainly wasn't a season to remember for the Orioles. But I will say it's pretty cool seeing the President of the United States and the Queen of England watching an Orioles game. Kind of funny though, considering the Orioles were 11-18 heading into the game. But at least the Orioles ended their season with a top draft pick to go along with their new stadium. In fact, it was the number 4 overall pick in the 1992 MLB draft, a draft that featured Derek Jeter and Phil Nevin. The Orioles would end up taking college outfielder Jeffrey Hammonds. He ended up making his debut only 1 year after he was drafted. By the 1994 preseason, Hammonds was considered by Baseball America as the 3rd best prospect in the league. However, his tenure with the Orioles wasn't so great. While he did finish 6th in the Rookie of the Year voting in 1994 despite playing only 68 games, Hammonds never really found his footing in Baltimore, mainly due to injuries. In mid-1998, Hammonds would be traded to the Reds for 3rd baseman Willie Green. In 1998, Green and Hammonds were both solid players, so you have to wonder why each team made the trade. Well, I think I can answer that question for the Reds. In mid-June, Reds starting right fielder John Nunnally was sidelined with an injury until early September. The Reds starting using center fielder Reggie Sanders as the interim right fielder starting in mid-June. Okay, that's fine, but now the Reds need a center fielder. Well, the shuffling of outfielders continued until early August, when the Reds traded 3rd baseman Willie Green for outfielder Jeffrey Hammonds. Hammonds took over center field duties for the rest of the season, while Reggie Sanders stayed in right field. Everyone's happy, especially 25-year-old 3rd baseman Pokey Reese, who now has a 3rd base position all to himself. Well, kinda. He actually started being the everyday 3rd baseman in late June, about a week after Nunnally's injury. However, by the end of July, a couple of weeks before Green was traded to the Orioles, Reese succumbed to a season-ending injury. This allowed the other young 3rd baseman on the roster to take over. That player was Aaron Boone. On July 31st, Boone became the starting 3rd baseman for the rest of the 1998 season. He performed well enough to earn the starting spot at the beginning of the 1999 season. He was a decent hitter, but he was a great defender. This would be the highest defensive WAR season of Boone's career. For the next couple seasons, Boone was always slated as the Reds' starting 3rd baseman, but he could never stay healthy. He didn't play his first full season until 2002. Entering his age 30 season in 2003, Boone had a few decent seasons under his belt, but he wasn't a league-wide star. However, the first half of the 03 season would be a step up for Boone. By the All-Star break, Boone's OPS sat just above 780, but he did hit 16 home runs while also stealing 12 bases. That's a solid half season. In fact, it was so good that Boone was the Reds' All-Star representative in the All-Star game. Did Boone do anything? No, he lined out on his only plate appearance, but that didn't matter because he was the sole representative of his organization in the All-Star game, the organization he had spent nearly a decade playing for. Too bad he was placed on the trading block. Yeah, the Reds hadn't seen a winning record since 2000, and they were 7 games under 500 at the All-Star break. It was in their best interest to place Boone on the trading block. Well, a certain team from New York was interested. No, not you, Mets. We already talk about you too much on this channel. I'm talking about the New York Yankees. Who was the Yankees' 3rd baseman at the time? Well, it was 36-year-old Robin Ventura. He wasn't bad or anything, but Boone was just slightly better and younger. And Ventura was traded to the Dodgers on the same day. Yeah, Ventura was traded on the trade deadline, the same day Boone was traded to the Yankees. So how did he do with his new team? Well, he didn't perform the same as he did with the Reds. Still, he was the starting third baseman on a playoff team. He didn't exactly perform well in the playoffs, but I'm sure baseball fans don't remember that part of history.
Leading by 3 as Boone hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Boone sent the Yankees to the World Series with one of the most iconic home runs in baseball history. Yeah, the Yankees would lose to the Marlins, but we will never forget Boone's home run. However, there is something that Boone forgot. Or maybe he ignored it, who knows. I'm talking about a clause in his contract that didn't allow him to play basketball and other certain sports in the offseason. I'm not sure if these types of clauses still exist, but they definitely did at the time. Why am I telling you this? Well, a couple of months before the 2004 season, Boone tore his ACL in his left knee during a pickup basketball game. Boone said that he was trying to catch a pass that was over his shoulder, and he was wiped out by another player. He had to drive home with this injury. At the end of the day, Boone was injured for the entire 2004 season, and the Yankees terminated his contract right before the season started. Now the Yankees need a third baseman. Well, there was a certain shortstop on the market who the Rangers were trying to trade. The Yankees already had a superstar shortstop in Derek Jeter, but this player agreed to move to third base in a potential trade. This player was 28-year-old Alex Rodriguez, and if it weren't for Boone's injury, the Yankees would have never looked at A-Rod. Well, actually, there was another factor too. Earlier in the offseason, the Red Sox were looking to trade for A-Rod as well. There was actually a deal in place between both teams. Well, actually, it was a 3-team deal. Here is what the full trade would have looked like. The problem was that A-Rod was only able to come if he reduced his salary, which he agreed to do, specifically by lowering his salary by $4 million every season. Keep in mind, A-Rod had $179 million left on his contract. The Players Association ended up axing the deal, as a deal of this nature would set a precedent, saying players could alter their own contracts in order for a trade to work. And I think this was a pretty fair concern. Though I could only imagine the frustration of Red Sox fans after seeing the Yankees swoop in and take one of the best players in the league. Of course, the deal worked out pretty well for the Yankees, but what about the Rangers? Well, Soriano won the same accolades with the Rangers that he won with the Yankees, although his production was down and he only stayed with the team for 2 seasons, as he was traded to the Nationals after the 2005 season. As for Arias, he didn't really do much for the Rangers. In fact, he didn't have his first 100-game season until 2012. So what have we learned today? Well, playing a physically demanding sport that's specifically prohibited in your contract is probably not a good idea. It just happened to work out for the Yankees. But it wasn't just Boone's injury. If the Orioles don't play as bad as they did in their season to remember, resulting in them receiving the number 4 overall pick in the 1992 draft, the Yankees would have never traded for A-Rod. So I know they're division rivals, but Yankees fans, I think you need to thank the Orioles for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like if you did, and leave your butterfly effect scenario in the comments. Subscribe to Raving Sports, and check out my channel, SportStorm. Thanks for watching.